In this video, we're going to show you the basic disassembly and reassembly of your U.S. Army Project Salvo. We're also going to go over some parts identification and some basic maintenance tips. We're first going to start off by removing our barrel, our magazine, bolt handle cap. We're also going to remove our rear sight using a 1/8 Allen wrench. And your rear sight just kind of slides off to the side there. Just go ahead and reinsert your bolt and set that off to the side. Go ahead and remove one of our bolts that actually holds the shroud on. And it fits pretty tight, but you should be able to just slide it right out. Go ahead and reinsert your bolt there. Then from there, we're just going to loosen up the tank adapter bolts and all the other bolts that hold the receiver on. Now you can see that I left the feed elbow on. That's going to hold your front sight and your front sight spring assembly all together while we're taking this marker apart. So we're going to go ahead and pop our receiver open. Alright. Go ahead and just kind of set that off to the side there. Kind of get a close-up shot here so we can go over some of the parts. Now, like I said before, we have our feed elbow still on here, and that's going to hold our front sight and our little horseshoe-shaped spring and our front sight pin all together as we disassemble it. So that's your front sight. We have your front bolt, your ball latch. The ball latch is just a little orange rubber piece that holds one ball in the breech at a time. That's just so you're not feeding multiple paintballs into the gun at once. Then we have our linkage arm, our power tube, and our valve assembly, which is inside the power tube. That's also what the gas line connects to. Then you have your velocity adjuster, which is accessible from the outside of the marker as well. Then we also have our trigger spring, our trigger, our safety, which would usually be in that hole, but when I was taking the other half of the receiver off, it was actually stuck on the other side of the receiver. Go ahead and just grab that real quick just to show you. There's your safety, and it just, like I said, it goes in that hole, and the red O-ring will actually be facing towards the left. So then we have your trigger, your receiver pins, or your dowel pins. You have 4 silver ones, and then you have one black one, which is steel hardened. It's hardened because of when the sear, the sear gets hit by the rear bolt and actually pushes forward to engage the trigger. This takes a lot of stress, so that's why it's hardened. It's a hard material. And then you have your sear and your sear spring. You have your rear bolt, which is the big silver piece in the back here with the bolt handle. We'll just kind of pull this back so you can see the O-ring exposed there. And you have your rear bolt O-ring. You also have your ACT linkage arm pins, which help guide that linkage arm straight. You also have your end cap and this gray O-ring that's free floating in the back here. That's called your buffer O-ring. And I'll kind of show you your drive spring and your guide pin here. You have your spring. Kind of scoot this over. You have your spring and your guide pin. And then you also have your end cap here. And you always want to make sure that that drive spring and guide pin go into the center of the end cap whenever you reinstall your end cap. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. And it should just sit right in that groove. From there, you have your gas line, your tank adapter bolts, and your tank adapter nuts, these little square nuts here. That's actually what holds your tank adapter and everything in place. So that's pretty much it for the parts identification part. Just some basic maintenance tips. Whenever you disassemble your gun, just kind of check to make sure that it's all free and clear of any kind of paint, dirt, or debris. Always make sure that your front bolt is always clean. You don't want any paint or dirt in there. Same thing with the linkage arm groove, where your linkage arm slides back and forth. Same goes for the rear bolt. Your drive spring and guide pin area. You always just want to make sure that this assembly is just free and clear of any kind of paint, dirt, or debris. And then once you go back through, you wipe everything down, you put it all back into the gun. I usually just go through, add a couple drops of oil right here on the linkage arm groove, put a couple drops right on the bolt O-ring, and then you can put a couple drops right here on the drive spring and the guide pin. And that's pretty much it for your basic maintenance. We'll go ahead, we'll get to reassemble this gun, and we'll start off by just putting the receiver half back on. And sometimes, there'll be a little pressure there. You can just push down and, like you were hearing before, it just snaps right into place. And that's fine. And we'll go ahead and snug these screws back down. Now I'm not going to tighten this one down yet. I'm going to do that one last so we can get our shroud back on there. I'm going to go ahead and tip this and get that bolt out. Slide our shroud back in there. You don't want to get these too tight, so just nice and hand tight is sufficient. Go ahead and put your bolt handle cap back on, your magazine back in. Go ahead and reinsert our barrel. And then we have our rear sight to put back on. It just slides right onto the Picatinny rail. And you can put it, whatever slot that you desire there, and then put your bolt in to secure it. And we'll just go ahead and tighten that back down. And that is the disassembly and reassembly of the U.S. Army Project Salvo.